tensions in Central Africa are boiling over again. Rwanda has issued a stark warning. It will not dismantle border defences until Congo eliminates what Kigali calls permanent security threats. As the M23 ceasefire holds, a new front of violence erupts. ISIS-backed ADF militants are massacring civilians, torching villages and kidnapping children. Meanwhile, Uganda faces allegations of using anti-terror operations to secure commercial interests deep inside Congolese territory. With foreign armies, armed militias and rival agendas clashing in eastern DRC, is the region on the brink of another proxy war? In a firm message to the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the international community, Rwanda has declared it will maintain its military defences along the DRC border indefinitely. Rwandan Foreign Minister Olivier Nduhungirehe announced during a parliamentary session in Kigali on July 29th, stating that national defence cannot be criminalised and that Rwanda, like any sovereign state, has the right to protect its territory. The move comes amid continued tensions with Kinshasa, which has demanded the withdrawal of Rwandan forces as part of a regional peace plan. Kigali, however, remains unconvinced. It accuses the Congolese government of harbouring and collaborating with the FDLR, a rebel group composed partly of fighters responsible for the 1994 Rwandan genocide. Minister Nduhungirehe defended the government's posture, comparing it to security measures employed by global powers such as the United States and Israel.
Rwanda will not accept double standards. The security on the border will remain tight until permanent threats are fully neutralized.
The Rwandan parliament has now ratified two key peace agreements, one signed in Doha in March and another in Washington in June this year. But Rwanda says peace efforts will fail unless the DRC acts decisively against militias threatening Rwandan sovereignty. Officials in Kigali also raised alarm over the alleged involvement of foreign mercenaries in eastern Congo, which they argue is fueling instability and emboldening anti-Rwandan groups. The diplomatic standoff adds to growing regional tensions, with both Rwanda and the DRC exchanging accusations of military aggression and proxy warfare. While international mediators urge restraint, Rwanda says its security is not negotiable. Meanwhile, on July 27th, armed fighters attacked a Catholic church in the Commander region of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, where about 100 people had gathered for a night vigil. Dozens of people were killed and others taken captive in the assault, which drew outrage and condemnation from the United Nations and the Vatican. Women, men, and at least 9 children were reported to be among the victims of the St. Anurit church attack, according to Congolese officials, while several children aged between 12 and 14 were kidnapped. Houses and shops near the church were also attacked and burned, with authorities finding more bodies there. At least 43 people were killed overall. The Allied Democratic Forces, ADF, an armed group operating in the border regions linking the DRC to neighbouring Uganda, and which has pledged allegiance to ISIL, ISIS, has since claimed the attack in a Telegram post. It is one of several recent attacks from a group that experts say is staging a major resurgence in a country already fragile from armed fighting. It also comes soon after the DRC government signed key peace roadmap agreements with both Rwanda and the M23 rebel group that has been advancing in the country's east, raising questions about the timing and motivation behind the violence.
These targeted attacks against defenseless civilians, particularly in places of worship, are not only appalling but also in violation of all human rights standards and international humanitarian law.
Pope Leo too expressed sorrow a day after the attack on the parish, which had been celebrating its 25th anniversary. ADF's attacks in July came as the DRC was enjoying some relief from the M23 rebels, arguably the strongest of all the armed groups. M23, the UN says, is backed by Rwanda. Aiming to take power in Kinshasa, it launched lightning offensives in January and seized vast swaths of territory in the eastern provinces of North and South Kivu. thousands died and hundreds of thousands were displaced in the 6-month war. In July, the US and Qatar brokered DRC peace efforts with Rwanda and M23, respectively, leading to a ceasefire. Nico Minda, an analyst at the Institute for Security Studies, or ISS, said the ADF is likely taking advantage of the military resources diverted to confront M23, resulting in more frequent attacks since January. Combined, M23 and the ADF have wrought the most havoc in eastern DRC, with some research suggesting that there might have been a non-aggression pact between the two at some point. The Armed Conflict and Location Event Data Project, ACLED, noted in a June report that M23 and ADF ISCA action between January and March 2025 killed 1,600 people, making that quarter the deadliest since 2002, when the DRC was in the throes of a civil war. Uganda poses the main challenge to the ADF. Some 4,000 Ugandan soldiers have deployed in the DRC since November 2021, where they lead Operation Shujaa, which also involves the Congolese army and MONUSCO forces. Kampala's decision to deploy followed a series of bomb attacks in Uganda that year. Since 2021, 2 leaders of separate ADF factions, Salim Mohammed and Benjamin Kisokaranio, have been captured. However, there are concerns that Uganda is expanding into territory not affected by ADF attacks. Due to the DRC's civil war history, which saw countries neighbouring Rwanda and Uganda take over Congolese territory and reportedly steal minerals, foreign armies on DRC soil remain a testy subject in Kinshasa. In June, the Ugandan army spokesperson, Felix Kulayigye, defended his government's stance while speaking to Al Jazeera, admitting that the country needed to protect commercial interests in the DRC. Already, Uganda has a negative reputation in the DRC. Kampala allegedly backed the M23 armed group by allowing the group passage into Congolese territory, according to a UN expert group report. President Yoweri Museveni and Rwanda's Paul Kagame are longtime allies. Back in 2022, the Ugandan Army Chief General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who is also President Museveni's son, openly expressed support for M23. The ADF's increasing attacks could lead to rising insecurity in the fragile DRC and across the sub-region, Minda said.